when you're preparing to ride a pattern, and this is any pattern, it can be a reining pattern, a cow horse pattern, a horsemanship pattern, ranch riding pattern, don't matter. Any pattern, I want to talk about how you should be going over that pattern in your head to prepare yourself to ride that pattern. What I have here is I have NRCHA pattern 2, lope towards. I'll put a link in the comments if you want to pull this pattern up and follow along with me. I'm going to talk about how to prepare to ride this pattern, but the techniques that I'm going to tell you is going to apply to any pattern in any discipline, how you should think about and prepare for that pattern. So this pattern here, you're in the position where the judge would be. All patterns will start, well, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, all Western patterns. Whatever is in that paragraph for each number is what's being judged under that maneuver score. So in this pattern, number 1 is where the judging starts. Now I'm going to start reading from the top. It's got a little introduction. On this pattern, it says begin on left lead at center without stopping or breaking gait, begin pattern facing the judge. Refer to rule 20.6. I'll put that rule up so you can see it. Basically what that rule means is the judging for the pattern starts when I get to the middle where 1 is. If you have this page, you can follow along. It's pretty nice to be able to follow along and break these patterns loose and see exactly how they're judged. But according to rule 20.6, if I come in the gate and I go to lope off and I either trot or I lope off in the wrong lead, I will get assessed the penalty for that, whatever I could do here that would get a penalty, like being in the wrong lead or trot or something like that. But the actual scoring for the first maneuver does not start until I get to the middle. That's when the first maneuver starts. So I'm going to walk the pattern and we're going to talk about it. Begin on left lead, come in the arena, and what I'm going to do, I would come in this gate, point my horse this way, I'm going to lope off in the left lead. Now thinking about this from the standpoint of how I'm going to ride this pattern, I want to make sure I turn this corner and I have my horse straight. I don't want his shoulders falling either direction. That's going to cause me to pick up the wrong lead. Remember, if we get the wrong lead, that penalty will be assessed for this pattern. So I'm going to turn. I don't have to be in a hurry to lope off. It's not like I have to lope off immediately when I come in the gate. Do want to lope off pretty soon, but it's more important that I get my horse straight than whether I lope here or I lope there. Straight horse there is better than an incorrect horse here and lope off in the wrong lead. Okay, so I'm going to come in, get my horse straight, look ahead, put my right leg back, and we would lope off. I'm going to lope my octagon shape. I've talked about that in another video. I'll put that link up here. All my circles are always octagons. I'm going to look for my points in my circle. And when I come around and when I get to the middle, that's where the judging for the first maneuver starts. I'll stop when I get there and we'll talk about that. Always, as I'm looking around, getting ready for the pattern, I want to find my middle, I want to find my rundown lines, I want to find my good dirt. As I'm riding this pattern, I'm looking for where I'm going to stop. Stops are in the middle, I'm going to be looking for my stop points. We're going to talk more about that later. I got a muddy spot right there in my arena. I've been to shows where the arenas aren't perfect. Just take note of it. It's not a big deal. So the first maneuver says beginning on the left lead, which I'm already on the left lead. I loped in. Do not stop. I'll keep going. Complete 3 circles to the left. First circle large fast. Second small slow. Third large fast. Change leads at the center of the arena. So as I am working this pattern, I'm going to be coming into a large fast. I want to keep my eyes up. I'm going to be thinking about my octagon shape. I'm going to ride to my next point over here. I want to look at what that point is. If I'm showing at an arena, at a facility, there might be a banner there. I'll just kind of make a mental note of what's on that banner. I want to be riding to that banner. Or it might be a chair or anything. I'm going to make a point of looking at what I'm going to ride to. Now right here, as I'm coming around, I'm still riding my octagon. Make my mental note of what I want to be seeing. I need to be looking at something right here, and that's what I'm going to be looking at when I'm riding my pattern. Not looking at my horse. I will look in to make sure that my arena awareness is there, to make sure I'm where I want to be in the arena, but I'm going to look at the point that I'm riding to. Work my way around to the middle. In the middle, it says to do a small slow, and then a big fast, and then change leads. So I'm going to picture, where is my small slow? Where do I want to put it? I don't have all my cones sitting out, but I'm going to make a mental note. If the rails change colors, if the seats change colors, I'm going to make a mental note of where I want the top of my small slow to be. Now when I get into the pen and I'm showing, I might need to adjust that depending on what my horse is telling me, but that's the point that I want to shoot for. Some horses, you want to make your smalls a little bit bigger. Some horses, you want to make your smalls a little bit smaller. Depends on your horse. You need to be thinking about how your horse shows the best. And this goes with if you're riding any other pattern. You're riding a ranch riding pattern. You're doing these same things. You want to be thinking about, how does your horse show the best. I want to make, at which transition in a ranch riding pattern, where do I want to be? If my horse has a better extended trot, I might extend the trot a little longer if I can. Might regular trot a little bit shorter if I can. It's going to depend on the pattern. I'm going to be thinking about those as I'm going through this pattern in my head. It's not just a matter of learning the pattern. Before you show, you should be thinking about, how are you going to show that pattern? When I have my students, when we're at a show, I don't just say, tell me the pattern, and they say left circle, right circle, that kind of thing. I want them to tell me, how are you going to show this pattern? So at the middle, I want to make sure I'm going straight. I make a mental note. In this pattern, I would be going straight towards the judge's chair or straight towards the middle cone. Cow horse, the judges are outside the arena. Reining, they might be in. Ranch riding, they might be in. But I want to make a mental note right here, what I should be looking at when I'm coming through to do my lead change. Going to the right, it's very similar. I'm going to be picking out my points, what I want to be looking at as I'm doing my circle, how big my small slow needs to be. It's the same thing on this side it is over here. Now what you need to take into account is some horses circle better one way than they do the other way. You're not necessarily going to ride these circles the same way you ride those circles. I might know that I can push my horse out a little faster in my right circles than I can in my left circles. I'm going to be thinking about that as I'm picturing my patterns. So I'll do my right circles. Big, small, big. That's maneuver 2. And then I'll come to the middle and change leads. I'll start maneuver 3. Now as you look at these maneuvers, what is in the paragraph for each maneuver is what's being judged for that maneuver. When you look at your score sheet and it has the boxes, those boxes correspond with these numbers on the paper. So after number 2, the last part of number 2 is change leads. It says 3, continue loping 2, run down. So the part number 3 is I'm going to be loping around. I'm using my same markers that I did to start the circle, but my rundowns in this pattern are down the middle, so I'm going to need to make a change up here. What I'm going to do here that's different from my circles, I'm going to want to do a rundown down the middle of the arena. What I'm going to do, where I was riding to the point 1 panel this side of the middle, if I'm going to set up for my rundown, I'm going to run to 2 panels this side of the middle, because I want to make sure I have enough space to get him set up. This will be 2 panels to get him set up for this turn, for this rundown. So continue loping 2 rundown. Now number 4, run to far in, past the end marker, and do a sliding stop, hesitate. So the next maneuver, pattern 4, is to turn. I'm going to set up for my rundown. I want to look at, what do I want to be looking at when I do this rundown? Now this is where I need to be thinking about, where down there do I want to stop? some of the cow horse shows we go to have cutting at the same show, and a lot of times the stops down there, they've showed cutting a couple hours ago, and the middle is kind of deep. So I want to decide, do I want to aim for the middle? Do I want to aim just to the side of one side or the other of middle? Pick your dirt. Put thought into where you want to stop and pick your dirt. I won a really big freestyle reining one time, mainly because I just picked better dirt. That's really the main reason. Now you have some leeway here. If the maneuver calls for you to run down the side on your rundowns, if you cross the center line, you're off pattern at the 0. If I'm running down the middle, I basically have up to my side rundown lines that I could be before I'm going to be off pattern. So I want to run down the middle. As I'm coming down, I'm looking at my dirt. Where do I want to be running down? About here at this first cone, I'm going to start building. Do I want to be building here, there, or there? I could move 2 feet, and that might make a half-point difference in my score. So as I'm coming down for this rundown, I'm paying attention to my dirt. Right here, I like that dirt better than I like this dirt. That's a little hard, it's a little clumpy, this is a little bit better dirt. So if I was setting up to show this pattern in this arena, I wouldn't be quite in the middle. I'd be coming down about 3 feet over here. I would more be in line with the latch on that gate. Past the end cone. Got to make sure we're past the end cone. My end cones are a little far down. Make sure I'm past the end cone, and I want to make sure that I pick out my mark. What do I want to be looking at when I'm setting up for my rundown? Right here, it's going to be that latch on that gate. I want to be on the latch side of the gate for this rundown. Every time I show a pattern, I am this specific, preparing myself mentally how I'm going to show that pattern. That makes a huge difference in your score. If I run down here, I'm going to get a better score stopping here than I am stopping there. Big difference. You do that in the 9 maneuvers that's in this pattern, you might have a 3-point difference at the end just because you pick better dirt. So after this rundown and stop, it says hesitate. Don't be in a big hurry to start your spins. It's really important that you let your horse hesitate. You want your horse's energy to come down from that stop so that when you turn to start your spin, the horse is thinking about you and doesn't still have his energy up from that rundown. So I'll hesitate. It says 3.5 spins to the left. Hesitate. So I'm just going to turn around to the left if I would have just spun. Now as I'm spinning, I know I want to stop this way. So I pick out whatever's down there I want to stop facing. Right here it's going to be that gate on that end. As I'm spinning, when I count 3.5 myself, I count my half first. So I started facing this way. When I get to here, I say half. And then that's my stop point. I'm looking for that. As I'm coming around, I'm got my head turned, my body turned. I'm looking for my stop point. 1. So I counted my half, 1. When I get to 3, and I don't say 3, I say whoa. It's half, 1, 2, whoa. And then I'm stopped, and the pattern says hesitate. I'm going to hesitate here. It's going to reflect poorly on your score if as soon as you stop, your horse is lunging, wanting to go forward. That's created by not hesitating long enough here. I've talked about how I show my horse. I'll show once for that high score. I'll show once to get a correct pattern. I'll show once intending to DQ and school my horse. So every one time I run trying to win, I'm going to run 2 more times. So now I have completed this. I'm hesitated. Now the next thing is run past the far end marker to a sliding stop, hesitate. So if we go down to this end again, as I'm going down, I'm looking for my dirt. Where do I want to be? Now it might be that as I was running that way, my horse was drifting one way or another, and I might not have stopped where I wanted. If that happened, I'm going to remember that, and that evening after the show, I'm going to school that. I'm going to make sure the horse runs down and stops where I want it to stop. So as I'm running down here, I'm looking for where is the dirt that I want to stop in. Coming down this way, I would rather stop right there than I would stop right here. Let me get where you can see a little better, and I'll point out why. Can you see that patch of white sand that runs acrossways right here? It's not right there, but it's right here. What I'm seeing there, if I was to run down here, the dirt's going to be darker there, light dirt darker there. That lighter dirt is going to be a drier, fluffier dirt, and that's going to cause my horse to slide faster there than it does on both sides. That's going to mess up his rhythm. So I'm not going to want to stop there. I'm going to want to stop here. So in this pattern, I would be running down, get past our end cone, and stop here. Now I'm going to handle my spins the exact same way I did down there. It says to spin at the end of my stop, hesitate. Now I'm going to handle my spins here the same way I did down there. It says 3.5 to the right and then hesitate. Again, I will count my half first, watch my point, and then spin 1, 2, stop. That is maneuver number 7. Maneuver number 8 says run past the center marker to a sliding stop. One thing to take note of here, it says past the center marker, but it doesn't say how fast past the center marker. I try to do these center marker stops that's at the end of my pattern on down the arena a little ways. Because if you start stopping short, you start stopping just past that center marker, which sometimes you have to if the pattern calls for a stop and back up. But I don't want to do that no more than I have to, because that horse is going to start thinking about stopping in the middle. So what I want to do is I want to do this last stop somewhere around my end cone. Not concerned about getting past it, but I want to be somewhere down there. Now again, I'm looking at my dirt, and I remembered from earlier I didn't want to be there, I want to be here. So when I lope off, I'm going to kind of angle off this direction a little bit. I don't want to angle a lot, but I'm going to find me a marker down there. Look at my dirt a little bit deeper here. This looks like good dirt to stop in right here. Whoa. This would be where I would perform that last stop. Just about the same line as where my first stop was. And when you look at the distance left and right from these two stops and that stop, it's only about 10 feet difference in width. So it's not like I'm running big angles diagonal to the arena. That would hurt your score. But I can run a little bit to my good dirt that I want to hit right here. So this is maneuver 8. Run past the center marker, do a sliding stop, hesitate. It says hesitate. I'm going to hesitate. I'm going to take advantage of every one of those hesitates, because if I stop and immediately go into a back, it's a really good chance my horse is going to either be thinking roll back or spin or something besides back. So I'm going to hesitate, and then I will pick my reins up and I will back. He's back a little bit crooked. I'll fix him right here while we're going through the pattern, and I will back. Now, the pattern says at least 10 feet. Generally, you can judge 10 feet as about 6 steps. You want to back at least what's required. If you have a horse that backs really good, you might want to back 20 feet. If you have a horse that's not a very good backer, you want to back at least enough to satisfy the maneuver. Make sure you satisfy the maneuver. So once I finish the pattern, what I do next is going to depend on the event that I'm doing. So that is how I plan in my head how I'm going to ride every pattern that I ride. Cow horse pattern, reining pattern, ranch riding pattern. That's how I go over them in my head. If you want another video where I talk about some of these other maneuvers and setting up for patterns, put a link up here to the top. This is Shorty. I've done a few videos on him. I'll put a link to his playlist. And until next time, thank you for watching.